Dear students, good morning. Welcome to Law Excellence IAS. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 7th August 2020. The first article for discussion is An Invisible Humanitarian Crisis in India. You know that millions of Indians are invisible and they live in microspaces. They are poor and marginalized. So remember the words I am using here. They are invisible to the policy makers. Microspaces, it means the places where the proper living conditions and basic needs do not exist. You can simply take slum as an example. These poor marginalized are neglected by the state and co-citizens like all of us. They are vulnerable for every catastrophe. You know that many of the developmental and anti-poverty programs lifted millions of poor out of this poverty and hunger, but still they are vulnerable. Just a disease or illness can push them back into the vicious cycle of poverty. This article explores various dimensions related to above. So let us see this. COVID 19 is not just an health crisis, it is also an economic crisis for nation and people. Always the worst affected are the poor people. In this case, the already existing crisis of vulnerability of poor is getting complicated in India. As per Global Hunger Index report of 2019, India is most vulnerable for hunger and it stands at 102 position out of 117 countries. You can see the depth of the problem over here. Now, India's handling of this crisis also can be stated as a public policy failure, and author states the various reasons for the same. 1. Government did not provide for any financial transfers to the poor. If you take every country, even including certain developing countries, financial transfers have become a way forward for protecting this poor and marginalized. In USA, $600 is being paid to every citizen who lost the job. India could have also provided certain financial support to this poor and marginalized. The second is the labor right protections are further weakened during this crisis. So it is meant to attract the investors. Third, demands for universalization of PDS are there from long. Many of the activists like Jean Drees, these are asking for this universalization of PDS. Government has provided for free benefits, RLs provided for rice, wheat, etc., but did not provide for universalization of PDS. Added to that, on the long term front, the development got concentrated in the urban areas and mass migration of the workforce to the urban areas became a norm in India. This COVID 19 has exposed how vulnerable and weak our developmental program is. So it is the time we shall think about dispersion of developmental activities in India. The next article for discussion is this. Can the NEP, National Education Policy, fix access to universal education? The two important words you need to focus here are access and universal education. Universal education means making education for all available for all. Access means removing the bottlenecks to take up this particular education to everyone. So, access to universal education is the critical word in this question. This very question can come up as an essay to you in the examination. So I will try to explore various dimensions and pitfalls related to this particular discussion. You know, 3 to 18 years is the age span that is covered in the National Education Policy. So the policy tries to align itself with the Sustainable Development Goals and wants to achieve inclusive, equitable, quality education for all the children in the next 20 years. On the face of it, I see that the child is defined as a person who is aged up to 18 years. That is an important positive development in this. Next, various issues discussed here are, the first is early childhood care and education. Now, 3 years of early education is planned under this policy for children, where they are going to be educated, that is at Anganwadi centers. Does Anganwadi centers have the necessary capabilities to educate children? And what about the skills of these teachers at Anganwadi centers? The grade 1 and grade 2 students are also clubbed and taught at the Anganwadi level. You know that the plan or the structure is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Obviously, the first 5 years of education, that is 3 years plus grade 1 and grade 2, is expected to happen at the Anganwadi centers. The question comes over here is, are the skills and capabilities exist at Anganwadi centers? The next is, and brain development happens up to 5 years, you know that. In this case, a specialized focus is necessary on foundational literacy and numeracy. So if they are not happening, obviously later learning outcomes will be very weak. So creating strong foundational literacy, can they happen at the Anganwadi centers is our question over here. Second, is this policy diluting the right to education? Remember, right to education covers children in the age group 6 to 14 years. In this case, the first 3 years of education is happening at Anganwadi, and 6th and 7th years is also happening at Anganwadi centers. In this case, is right to education where a child has to be placed in the school. Technically, Anganwadi centers do not come under the definition of the school. Is RTE is getting diluted in this way is the question. Next is, Kasturi Rangan Committee has specifically stated that the age group of 3 to 18 years shall be brought into the ambit of Right to Education Act. No such effort is made by this particular policy. The next topic which I am discussing is private schools and education. The policy promotes universalization of education through participation of government and philanthropic private schools. Do we really have philanthropic private schools, or they are not having a profit motive? This is big hypocrisy. The biggest challenge is to maintain the quality of education given by the government and private schools and to reduce the cost of private education in India today. Next, Kothari Committee has proposed for school complexes. This policy also reiterates the word of school complexes. Remember carefully, neighborhood schools are meant to provide ease of education to the children. In the United States of America, separate school districts exist, and this is very successful model. These school complexes, that is aggregating all the schools at one single place, this goes against the concept of neighborhood schools. So in this context, this can be seen as retrogressive steps. It is more an economic mind thinking over here rather than a mind in the interests of children. So it is meant to support the closure of unviable government schools. The next structure which is proposed here is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 structure. So it consists of 5 years of foundational stage, that is 3 years of pre-primary school and grade 1 and 2, 3 years of preparatory stage, that is from classes 3 to 5, 3 years of middle school, that is classes 6 to 8, and 4 years of secondary stage or high school, that is classes 9 to 12. This is what we call it as 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 structure. Now the concerns are coming up. What are the concerns? We have 4 different places where children can join and exit the school. Obviously, when number of points are more, the chances to trigger the exit are very high at every stage. The next, exam structure. It is highly criticized that Indian education system revolves around exam. Why exams were necessary? These are meant to test learning outcomes of the children. But exams have become an end in itself rather than being the means. So the policy suggests that an assessment will happen only at 3, 5 and 8 classes. So lack of year-on-year promotions based on the exams is a big relief to the students. So it's a progressive step, we can say it that way. The next important and drastic recommendation, that is teaching in mother tongue. Remember, states may have objections and few states may support the same. But however, let us see the case of linguistic minorities. There can be many practical problems in teaching linguistic minorities in the same state. So let us take in Andhra Pradesh, Tamils are a linguistic minority. In Telangana, Karnataka, many of the Maharashtrians also exist. Can state governments take up responsibility to provide them with the necessary facilities? It is a practical problem that need to be solved. Next is vocational education. Especially at the secondary level, that is from the class 9th onwards, vocational education is promoted. So, vocational education, will it promote early exits and perpetuate hereditary occupations among the people is a big question. Next is socio-economically disadvantaged group. Rather than using scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, minorities, etc., one broad label of socio-economically disadvantaged groups is given to the excluded communities from the mainstream. Now, in a country where we have to understand vulnerabilities of different sections, we need to know which community they belong to. So, the present status can undermine our ability to understand diverse social realities and disadvantages faced by various social groups in India. That can be a drawback. Other issues are, we have expected this policy to talk about common school curriculum in India and also national testing agency, which are not being discussed. These are the points which can be used in your essay. The next article for discussion is academic research is necessary but not sufficient. Here we need to differentiate the words academic research and post-academic research. You know, India produces highest number of PhDs, but the quality of research and industrial application of the same research for economic benefits is almost absent. One day I was attending Mr. J. Prakash Narayan's speech in Nagarjuna University. He made one important point. If we close down all our educational institutions, leaving few hospitals, medical colleges, etc., does it make any difference to our economy? Then he said, a very little difference would have been made, or the total, or else nothing could have been made. So it means the education system and life is getting disconnected from each other. This is the point he was trying to make. So in this article, author says that academic and post-academic research shall go together for national development. The post-academic research involves industry collaboration to test various pilot projects and also to evaluate technology application levels, or to what extent the technology is ready to take into application in industry. The new science technology innovation policy shall take this into consideration is his appeal. Groundbreaking. Yesterday we saw, if I'm not wrong, Manishankar Iyer's article. So what he states here, I'm stressing again. A secular India alone is an India that can survive. This is the statement of Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. Now, we have played enough politics on masjid and mandir issue. It is the time to build the communal harmony. All the political parties and the people shall move into a harmonious phase in our secular relationships. So that is what this article emphasizes. The next is cartographic challenge. You know that the Pakistan has recently circulated new maps, and the article is written in this context. In these maps, it claims Jammu and Kashmir, Siachen, Sar-Creek waters, Junagadh as its territories. What can be the intention of the Pakistan? It is to internationalize the dispute and also to provoke India. If India gets provoked, it is directly playing into the hands of Pakistan. And India also need to be careful because a three-dimensional attack is happening on it. What are they? China is disputing line of actual control and claiming regions of Ladakh. And second is recently Nepal. It also claimed and circulated new maps, including Kalapani and Limpiadura in the map. So Pakistan is new in the line, though it cannot make any difference, but still India has to be careful. The next article is straying into troubled waters. So this article emphasizes that the imprisoned fishermen in Pakistan and India need an urgent attention, an immediate attention. You know that fishermen enters into the other's waters accidentally. They are arrested and kept in jails. This problem has to be seen with an humanitarian dimension. So in this case, no arrest policy is being proposed in this article. Remember, no arrest policy. The next article is RBI keeps policy rates unchanged. The new monetary policy is announced, and let us see the highlights of this monetary policy. First, banks are allowed to restructure stressed corporate and MSME loans. Remember carefully, these corporate and MSME loans, if they become NPAs, it is not good for the country and also to the companies. So the restructuring is a very wise step which can decrease the burden of payments on the MSMEs immediately. The second is individual borrowers also can get relief, but it is at bank's discretion. They can see their loyal paymasters and can provide for benefits. The third thing is the borrowing limits on gold are relaxed. It means on the value of the gold today, 90% of the money is given as credit. Tenure can be extended to personal loans today up to 2 years. And added to that, NABARD and National Housing Bank got 10,000 crores of additional funding which can help for revival of construction industry and also the rural economy. Finally, the most important decision taken is this: startups are included in priority sector lending scheme or lending norms. What is a priority sector? Out of total bank lending, some 40% of the money has to be lent to the sectors which are included in priority sector lending norms. Today, startups are also included in the same. These are the important points. The next article is Manoj Sinha appointed as Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor and Murmu as CAG. So Mr. Murmu, who has resigned yesterday as Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, is appointed as a new Comptroller and Auditor General of India, and Mr. Manoj Sinha, the former Minister of State for Railways, is appointed as a new Lieutenant Governor to Jammu and Kashmir. You need to observe carefully. The bureaucrat is replaced by politician. So a political mind can better handle the situation compared to a bureaucracy. Why the government thinks so? Let us understand. The local government elections, and added to that, state government elections and filling the seats in legislative assembly are on the way. Remember, a fair and transparent elections are always essential for a bright democracy. If the government does any mischief in the conduct of elections, it can be dangerous. And the second point is, when chief secretary and lieutenant government fights with each other, when they are both bureaucrats, obviously governance gets standstill. Now in this case, if the politician is there as governor, the micromanagement of the affairs can also stop. So from these dimensions, I think a change is being made. The next article is India rejects China's UN Security Council move on Kashmir. You know that China proposed UN Security Council to discuss Kashmir issue in closed door meeting. It proposed the similar move on India and Pakistan question way back in 2016 and also later. So, China is trying to internationalize Kashmir issue, that is its clear intention. Anyhow, no country took it seriously, that is a positive notion. And the next article here, US Congress panel flags restrictions in Kashmir. Even after 1 year, the restrictions are not being lifted after repealing Article 370. House of Foreign Affairs Committee, a powerful committee in United States of America's Congress, has raised this particular issue. The next article, Pompeo against vote for Cuba on Human Rights Council. From prelims perspective, you have to know what is this Human Rights Council. Note that Washington is no more part of UN Human Rights Council. It withdrew from the council in 2018, accusing it of political bias in the context of Israel issue. Today, the same United States of America Secretary of State appeals to the countries that let us not allow the Cuba to be part of this body, August body, or let us not allow Cuba to head this. That is what is his appeal. Now let us know few points related to UNHRC. Its seats are distributed geographically and awarded for a period of 3 years. And any member can sit in the seat for 2 consecutive terms, not for the third. After anyone taking up the third term, they can come back for another 2 terms. It means a gap has to exist after 2 consecutive terms. That is what is the point we need to look into. Thank you very much and have a great day.